Welcome to Manhwa Recaps, spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. Huge shout out and special thanks to the channel members. The manhwa begins by talking about pigs and explaining that the genes determining the structure and shape of their organs and tissues in pigs are 95% similar to those in humans. Therefore, back when human dissection was still considered taboo in the world, there was only one other option, which was for them to dissect pigs, and they served as test subjects instead of humans for a while. We see a man named Maru being called out by another man asking if he understands what this means, saying no matter how talented a person may be, in the end, 95% of their life is a pig's life. Bro might be a little jacked. He calls out to Maru, asking if he is trying to take his place, as he's been butchering for 4 to 5 years, yet Maru just started, calling him arrogant. He raises his axe high into the air. He then immediately swings it down as hard as he can, but Maru doesn't even blink as it lands directly behind him, hitting a pig's head and splitting it in half. The man tells Maru to look here, saying he's still far from surpassing his achievements as he just starts hacking away at pigs. Bro is actually only in a Speedo. Maru says at this rate the workbench will break again and that his boss should please stop this and get dressed. His boss shows him the meat he cut, asking if he doesn't think it's a shame to sell it because it's so beautiful. He is the World Livestock Food Manager named Juno. And we are formally introduced to the main character, World Livestock Food Employee Maru. He stabs his knife into a pig's corpse and then immediately starts to slice it open, getting ready to section it off. Juno says that he's not bad and seeing his skills up close, nobody would believe that he's only been doing this for a year. Maru says if he's not going to help, he should stop disturbing him. Juno then yells, calling out to someone named Kim Yang, saying that Maru is lagging behind today and he'll be taking him out on some errands. He continues calling out to Yang as she sits there munching away and eventually screams her name as loud as he can. She asks if he means working outside. She's the accountant of World Livestock Food. Juno asks if she's trying to do a mukbang or something, saying that she needs to stop eating so much, and he's going to the sauna so she should keep an eye on the office. She salutes him, saying he should have a good trip and bring back something delicious for her. Juno then tells Maru that surely he knows he cares a lot about him. Maru looks disgusted, saying care my ass, and he barely gives him any money, makes him work without leave, and even drags him into all-nighters because he doesn't want to do it alone. He claims to help him when he's the only one doing the butchering. Juno starts to cry manly tears, saying that's all because of his love for him. Maru says he doesn't need it, and Juno asks if he remembers. On his first day at work, he asked him to dissect a pig and normally anyone would hesitate if he asked them to do it, but instead, Juno asked if he would really get paid for killing it. He looked into its cute eyes and didn't even blink upon doing his job of butchering the pig. Juno says he knew at that moment that he was born to be none other than a butcher as he pours water over his head. Maru says butcher or not, he not only dragged him out during work hours but wants him to scrub his back. Bro got that Yujiro back, also back shots would sound like World War II. Juno says that he heard he used to beat up all the kids during lunch break, and he should use some of his strength to scrub the dirt off his back. Maru says surely he'll pay him for this, and Juno says no. Maru asks what kind of sicko would make him do this without paying. Juno says it seems like Maru really needs money, and Maru says he really does. Juno then tells him that he'll give him a profitable job this time, and though it might not be enough to go back to how it was, he can at least get out of the half basement he's living in right now. Maru says that he'll do it, asking what the job is. Then Juno double checks that he actually studied abroad in Japan. Maru says yes, and Juno starts to smile, saying it's good then, as he should go right away to none other than Japan. We see a plane flying high in the sky as Maru is now waiting at a bus stop, completely confused about what the hell is going on. He starts to sweat nervously and then yells, asking what he is doing here. It jumps to urban livestock farming, a warehouse in the woods of Japan. Maru was sent here because the Japanese livestock company they were trading meat with urgently requested manpower, but for 6 months straight, he couldn't even take a single day off. If he worked like this in Korea, he would earn the same amount of money, and doing this in a foreign country is literally useless. Moreover, his workplace is really strange. They say they lack manpower, yet he's the only one working here. Some Yakuza-like guy has been smoking cigarettes and watching him for the past 6 months, not even helping. In Korean, Maru tells him that he shouldn't be smoking here and immediately insults him for being bald. Maru notices something else suspicious here as they're asking him to separate the rib bones neatly. All other parts except for the ribs are discarded. and these ribs feel really heavy compared to usual, as if there is something hidden inside of them. There's a thin line that's noticeable if you observe it closely, and it clearly means that it was cut once and reattached. There's also some weird white powder seeping out of it. The reason why Japanese butchers can't be used and why a Yakuza is watching over him starts to make this all seem hella suspicious, and he turns back around to look at the man with eyes full of suspicion. He decides that he should just focus back on work as he'll be leaving soon anyway. The absolute specimen watching him starts to glare at him, and Maru debates leaving right now. We hear Juno back at his office asking why he wants to leave right now, and Maru explains that for the last 6 months, he's been working overtime and doing miscellaneous work all alone. They even have a Yakuza watching him, asking what the hell is the deal with the job. Juno asks if he thinks that work is a game, saying he's worked overtime so far without complaining, yet he's acting up now. Maru says that this place is really weird, and Juno asks what's so weird about it, saying that he pulled strings to get him there since he said he needed money. Yet, he's going to let him down like this? If he returns just like that, what will he do about his younger sibling's school fees and his mother's credit card debt? Asking him if he thinks it's easy to earn money, he tells Maru that if he just does it for 1 more month, he'll get him out of there, so he just needs to hold on. Maru is pissed but decides to hold back his anger and says understood, then slams the phone down, hanging it up, saying it's always because of money. He really regrets how his family has fallen into this situation in the first place. Back at work, he's taking out his anger on the pigs, saying if it wasn't for money, he would have quit a hell of a long time ago, and he just needs to hold out for 1 more month. Baldy starts calling out to him, asking if he is working well while putting his hands right on his meat. Baldy gets close to him and then pinches his cheeks, saying that he doesn't know how thankful he is that he's so hard-working, and it would have been troublesome if he weren't here. Maru can't believe he's pinching his cheek with the same hand that just rubbed his meat and says the day will be his funeral for sure. Baldy says that he's so good at using knives. It makes him want to scout him. Maru is doing everything he can to hold back his anger and then looks down to notice that Baldy actually has a gun. He remains calm. He eventually asks the man if he only wanted to praise him, and Baldy says no since he'll be leaving work early because it's his girlfriend's birthday, and his youngest will be taking his place. We hear him call out to his big brother, and Baldy says there's his cute little bro. There is no way this is his younger brother. Apparently, this guy is 23, the same age as Maru. This the type of person they have playing teens in movies. Baldy introduces his brother to Maru, saying from now on he needs to move all the ribs that have been cleaned over here and to be careful. We see little bro holding onto the bones, asking where they're meant to go, and Baldy points, saying over there, and they start arguing about where exactly that is. Baldy tells him to just take it where he thinks it goes. Maru notices something as everything begins to shake. He goes to fall over as the entire ground starts to rumble. They all immediately try to catch their footing as there is an earthquake. Baldy tells him to make sure not to drop anything, but of course, little bro loses his footing, tripping forward, dropping the bones onto the floor, causing some of them to break, exposing all the powder inside. Maru covers his mouth because of the white dust and is surprised. Baldy then tries to change the subject while sweating nervously, saying surely it's his first time experiencing an earthquake, and it looks like there's a lot of bone dust, but he doesn't have to worry, and he can leave this place to them and concentrate on his work. Maru nods, saying he understands, and Baldy starts yelling at his brother, saying he needs to hurry and pick it up. Little bro then double checks that the butcher is from Korea. Big bro asks why that matters, and little bro says then he probably won't know that this is a drug since he doesn't understand Japanese. Big bro then immediately tells him to shut up as Maru freezes and turns, sweating nervously, and big bro calls his little brother a dumbass, saying that he actually fully understands Japanese. Maru realizes this isn't good, and Baldy pulls out a gun, pointing it at him, then says sorry in Japanese to him. Maru's heart starts to beat fast, and he wonders if his life is going to end just like this. He's butchered pigs all day and worked his ass off trying to provide for his family. Will he really just die so easily like this? Baldy puts the gun right to his forehead. Maru's face looks full of regret and anger as he does not want to die here like this. Baldy tightens his grip on the trigger, and then we hear the sound of something being cut. We then hear Junho's voice asking Maru if he knows why he likes him so much, saying when he first started working here, surely he remembers the test he gave him to kill the pig. People usually hesitate at first when asked, but Maru didn't even blink before doing it, and usually, people get caught up with all sorts of feelings after killing their first animal, but Maru only contemplated how to kill the pig more efficiently as he asked Junho how he makes sure they die in an instant. Juno looks down at him and then begins to smile really wide, saying that's why he says he was born to be a butcher. Whether it be a pig or a human, all you have to do is hit its vitals. We then see the gun flying through the air with Baldy's hand attached to it as Maru just swung his knife, cutting it clean off. Baldy starts to scream out in pain, and Maru says that he's butchered many pigs in his life, and since pigs are 95% similar to humans, he knows very well where he needs to stab a person as he aims for Baldy's throat, raising his knife and says he needs to treat this like he is butchering a pig. The blade sinks into Baldy's throat, and then Maru grits his teeth, slicing upwards, finishing the cut, saying that he's killed so many pigs he can't really differentiate if he's killing a pig or a person at this point. Baldy screams in pain and then falls backward onto the floor as he begins to bleed out heavily. The realization starts to kick in that it was actually a person and not a pig. But while he's lost in thought, little bro starts running directly at him. Maru turns only to see little bro has already closed the distance and is right in his face as he grabs onto him, tackling him, smashing him into the table, sending everything in the air. It rattles the warehouse a little bit as well. Little bro then starts hammer fisting Maru's face, asking how dare he kill him, saying he has no idea how nice of a person he was, and that he was going to propose to his girlfriend today. With each hammer fist, Maru's face starts to take on a purplish color, and he raises his hand, telling him to die as he's coming in for the final blow. Maru wonders how to get out of this and thrusts his knife up very quickly, stabbing little bro right in the stomach. Maru is then surprised that little bro has almost no reaction as he starts continuously wailing on him, asking if he thinks it's his first time getting stabbed, and that stabbing with something so small won't even make a dent. Maru wonders what kind of monster this dude is since he doesn't even care there's a knife in him. Little bro then stretches his hands forward, grabbing onto Maru by the throat, choking him out. Maru realizes this is bad as he can no longer breathe, and as he starts to lose consciousness, he recalls Juno explaining to him, saying that a pig has strong bones and a thick layer of fat, so his knife might not make it through. If he wants to become the best butcher, he must learn to avoid the bones and cut straight through the fat, taking only the most efficient path. But surely he doesn't have to work too hard because if it's him, he'll see the path that he has to follow. Through pure instinct, Maru can tell that his knife is directly under the rib cage. He tightens his grip on the blade and slowly starts to twist it, screaming as loud as he can, immediately following the bottom part of the rib cage and perfectly slicing through little bro's stomach. Juno's words start to resonate through him, saying no matter what anyone says, he was definitely born to be nothing more than a butcher. Little bro falls completely limp on top of him. Maru does his best to slide out from underneath, saying that he is way heavier than a pig. He then starts to vomit in his mouth and immediately all over the floor of the warehouse, saying that this was righteous self-defense, and he would have been killed if he had not been the one to do it. But he doesn't know if the cops are going to believe him if he turns himself in. Rather, he thinks they'll just take everything he says as an excuse. But he's actually not that afraid of the cops, since he's afraid of the Yakuza. The only way he can get out of this is if he sets this place on fire. We then hear another man yelling out in Japanese as he kicks the door open. Maru turns, confused that there was another person here, and the dude immediately starts blasting his gun, asking how dare a mere worker kill his boys. Maru starts to run behind cover, and the man asks if he really thinks he can survive just by running. Maru heads directly into the freezer, and the man asks why he would intentionally run into a dead end. He kicks the door open, firing away. He then stops after a second, waiting to hear something, but there's not a single sound to be heard. He starts walking through the freezer, asking how long he thinks he can keep hiding, saying if he comes out and kneels on the ground, he'll let him have an easy death. He then spots something, Maru's boots behind a pig. The man laughs, saying that he hid so well, and then continues laughing while firing his gun, asking if he really thought he wouldn't find him, calling him a dumbass. All we see is Maru's boot fall over to the ground, and Maru yells, saying that he's looking in the wrong direction as he's holding onto the railing that carries the pigs, kicking one forward. The man turns, but it's too late, as the entire rack comes through, hitting the man and sending him flying backward into the wall. The man hits his head, and his vision starts to go a little blurry. Maru doesn't hesitate as he runs straight in with his knife, yelling, telling the man to die. Maru brings the knife down, stabbing him right beneath the collarbone, saying that he's been yelling non-stop, and the dude should shut the hell up. The man laughs, calling him a dumbass again, saying that he should have aimed for his throat as he points the gun directly at Maru's head, yelling for him to die. But for some reason, his finger is too shaky, and he can't control it. He looks down at it, surprised, wondering why he can't move his fingers. We hear Juno explaining about the brachial plexus, a group of nerves that goes from the spinal cord to the forelimbs. On a person, it would be right beneath the collarbone, and it's exactly the same as a pig. If you stab here, be it a person or a pig, they won't be able to move that side of their arm. He asks Maru how it is, saying surely he's starting to see that a person and a pig hold up to that 95% similarity. There will be a time when even he is confused if what he's killing is a pig or a human. Maru quickly pulls his knife out, with a look devoid of emotion, and the dude tries to tell him to hold on. Maru has no intention to reason with someone who just tried to kill him. So he stabs his knife back down, finishing the job, and then it jumps to 6 hours later as he is flying back into Korea. We see his luggage rolling on the ground as he heads back home. He looks so gassed out, he starts wheezing, saying it's only been half a year, and he can't believe it's been this hard. He really needs to move or something, as this neighborhood is straight ass. He took the first flight he could and returned. And thankfully, the Yakuza did not chase after him. He set the warehouse on fire, so surely it wouldn't be easy for them to know what happened. He erased all of his traces and cleaned up the scene where the Yakuza died. So surely now it is all over. He heads down the stairs to his house, wondering why the light is on at such a late hour. He grabs one of the doors, wondering if everybody is awake, and he opens it, calling out to his mother, asking why she is up, saying that he's made a lot of money this time, and he's also brought presents from Japan. He is surprised to see that his entire house is actually ransacked, and Maru wonders what's going on, and if it was a thief or maybe his mother. He starts yelling for his mother and his sister Naru, asking where everybody is. He hits something with his foot and looks down, wondering what it is. He sees that it's a rib bone that is broken open with cocaine falling out of it. His heart starts to sink as he gets a really bad feeling, wondering why this is in his home. A voice then says it's good that he came back. Maru quickly turns around to see a whole group of dudes, one of them even wearing a suit, glaring down at him. Maru begins to wonder if maybe the Yakuza actually did follow him, and he wonders how they are already here. The man in the suit asks him if he is Maru and reaches into his suit to pull something out, and Maru starts to wonder if they took his mother and his sister. The man says that he was looking for him and can't believe that he saved them the trouble of finding him. Maru wonders if it's a gun, saying he can't believe they chased him all the way to Korea just to finish him off. He tightens the grip on the bone, saying he'll kill them all. But then he's immediately confused as the man instead pulls out a police badge, saying he's from the Narcotics and Organized Crimes Investigation Department, and his name is Detective Han Tasik. He tells Maru that he would benefit greatly if he came with them to the station. Maru is surprised that he's a detective, saying he can't believe it's the police and not the Yakuza. He wonders if maybe they caught on to the fact that he killed those people in the warehouse. But even then, it was self-defense. Tasik says they should talk about it in detail when they arrive, and he really hopes for his cooperation. Maru asks if it was necessary for the police to come inside his house and trash it like they did. One of the younger officers says that's not the case and that he's making it a big deal, but it's actually a misunderstanding. They never did this, and it happened because his mother went on a rampage. Maru is surprised, asking if that's the truth, and Tasik confirms it, saying that his mother actually administered drugs. Maru is completely lost for words. He starts to give us some backstory on his family. He explains that his mother is not the most mature, and even after their family fell into ruin, she continued to spend money on things like clothing. But even with that, he still liked his immature mother's smile. He can't believe that she would take drugs as we see her foaming at the mouth and screaming from the drugs. All the nurses say that she's experiencing overdose shock and that they need to quickly hold her down and sedate her while Maru sits there watching. Tasik says when they arrived at his house, she was already in such a state. Maru then looks to his left to see that Tasik is holding the bones, saying that when they arrived at the scene, this is the drug they found. He asks Maru if he knows when his mother started taking drugs, and Maru says that he has no idea. Tasik double checks that he has no idea about the drug itself, and Maru confirms that he doesn't. Tasik gives him a glare as if he knows there's more that he's not telling and hands him his business card, saying if he remembers anything, to contact him. Then he and the younger officer head out while Maru sits there full of confusion. In the parking garage, we see Tasik hotboxing the hell out of his car while the young officer is dying from the smoke. We learn that his name is Lee, and Tasik tells him to quiet down, saying he can't concentrate at all. Lee tells him to please open the damn window at least, and Tasik says that smoking is prohibited in underground parking lots. Lee says in that case he should smoke outside, as bro is being a damn terrorist. Tasik says it's his car, he can smoke if he wants. He calls out to Lee, and Lee asks if he's going to make him go get another box of cigarettes, but instead, Taesik only asks him to research Maru. Back to Maru, who is looking at his mother in the hospital bed. He says that nothing is making sense. He was gone, he only left Japan 6 hours ago, and he burned everything in the scene that could be used against him, so the Yakuza should have no information and shouldn't be able to move faster than him. So who in the hell gave his mom drugs? He then gets a call from Juno, and he answers it. Juno says he heard there was a fire at the Japanese factory. Maru says there was, but he's fine, and he has work to do, so he'll call him later. Juno asks what work he's talking about and asks if that means he's coming back to Korea to work with him again, telling him to talk as they are pals. Then he asks Maru why his mother took drugs and starts to laugh. Maru starts to feel unsettled as the laughing continues, and he asks him what the hell he just said. Juno asks if he received the drugged ribs that he sent. He asks if he thought the Yakuza did it, and if maybe the cops went to his house. Maru asks if he really did something wrong. Juno says no, that he hasn't done anything wrong, and that he is an SSS class butcher he wants to work with for a long time. And he has his place ready. Maru yells, asking what bullshit he is spouting, saying messing with his family is too much. Juno then says that Maru's little sister, Naru, is here, saying that she talks about how she misses him and surely he should stop by the company sometime to visit her. Then his mother became a drug addict, so he has to make sure that his sister gets addicted to them, as we see her with Yang. Juno then says surely Maru needs money. If he kills one person, he can make $1 million. He asks if he thought that his company really only butchered pigs. With Maru's talent, he could build a building in the middle of Gangnam without a problem. He sent a nice car to him, so he should use it and get off work for the day. And instead, he should come kill people with him, asking what he thinks. He tells Maru to think about it and then hangs up, telling him he'll see him later. We see Maru grip his phone tightly as he is pissed. He sits there realizing what he must do. We see the company's truck right outside of his house. There's a man in a containment suit outside of it. Someone on the inside is yelling, asking why he's just standing there, and telling him to help him out. Glasses says that odd jobs should be done by people like him. A body bag then falls to the floor, and the guy inside says that one of the pigs fell and he should put it back inside. Glasses calls him stupid and clumsy, then picks up the bag, saying that the zipper broke from the fall. We see a man's corpse inside of it. He asks him what he's going to say to Hong if the meat happens to get injured. The man says he only has to shake his head and let Glasses accept his fate. He then jumps out of the truck, saying that it's actually hot as hell, wondering why there's so much luggage. We are introduced to him. He is a chief in Junho's company named Baek Shoho. He says that as soon as he finishes securing the truck, he should go pick up the new recruit. We learn Glass's name is Choi Do-il and he asks if he didn't know that he's been his minion ever since he joined the company and that his goldfish memory is to blame and that he lost his rock paper scissors. Then he starts to mock him, asking if maybe he's afraid of the new recruit, saying it would, of course, be a bit scary for a piglet to go to the butcher. Shoho starts to get angry, asking what he means by piglet, and swings his hammer, asking him who he thinks he's talking to. Do-il quickly unsheathes his own weapon, and they collide with each other right there, creating sparks. These two got some serious beef. Do-il then sighs, calling him cute, and then heads down to Maru's house, saying that he'll get into an accident if he lets it get to his head and he'll be back later to watch the car. Some time goes by as we see the truck still in the same spot, and Shoho is asleep at the wheel. He then wakes up to a sound on the roof, wondering what's going on. He looks out the window to see a cat. He asks if maybe it's here because it smelled of meat, saying he can't give it to him and wondering what to do. Then he wonders where Do-il is, saying that he's very late. Shoho starts heading down, saying maybe he's having drinks with the new recruit without him. He sees the door wide open, wondering how much fun they're having since they didn't even bother closing the door. He quickly enters, calling out to Do-il, asking where he is, only to be surprised to see that the entire place is still completely trashed. He lets go of the cat, wondering what's going on. As he heads inside, he says that he wonders where Do-il is, as he's meant to appear to pick up the new recruit. He sees someone laying on the floor, thinking that it's Maru. He kicks him, asking him where Do-il went, saying he'll get scolded by Juno if he does this stuff. But then he takes a double look at the person, seeing that it's none other than Do-il dead on the ground, and it seems like he's been dead for quite some time now. Shoho sighs, asking if he's ever seen such a clueless new recruit, saying his seniors came to greet him, asking him to put down his knife. Then he turns angrily to his right, saying that he'll force some manners into him with his hammer, and he's going to enjoy every minute of it. We then see Maru's familiar boots as he's holding onto the knife, asking what he means by senior, saying that must mean he is with World Livestock Produce. Shoujo starts to get annoyed, saying it's crazy that Gen Z people all have no manners. He reminds Maru that he's his senior, asking if he wasn't taught properly at home. Maru no longer has his boots on as he stomps the floor, closing the gap in an instant, right to Shoujo's face. Shoujo starts to grin, asking if Maru knows what they call a strong cow. He replies, sausage, which is a play on words in Korean. Then he swings his hammer down as hard as he can, cracking Maru's knife. Never mind, it completely destroys it, sending chunks flying away. Maru is surprised that his knife broke in a single strike, but Shoujo doesn't give him the chance to get sidetracked, yelling at him to get his head straight as he's coming in for a follow-up. It jumps back to Junho's office as we see them preparing the welcoming party for Maru. Everybody's working hard, and we hear some people saying they can't believe they sent Shoujo to pick up the new recruit, saying surely that's too much, as they already know what he's like. Piggy asks what he means by too much, saying that Junho said the new recruit is the best. A younger Heihachi from Tekken asks if they have a problem with Shoujo going. Each of their faces looked more strained than the last for some reason, and we see it's because they are doing a totem pole holding up Junho as he sets up decorations. They are talking about the differences between Shoujo and Do-il, and one of them says that the only thing he knows about Shoujo is that he just makes dumb puns. Heihachi says they don't know this, but he has seen him fight. We are introduced to him formally as his name is Junsik. He explains the moment Shoujo ended up becoming a legend as we see him holding a guy by the throat, asking if he knows what you call a cow on fire. He says that if the guy guesses right, he'll let him live, as we see a whole group of dudes around him, and the scar on his nose was from this. At that time, he defeated all of the bullies and gangsters and conquered his whole region insanely fast. We even see a younger Junsik on the floor bleeding from the head. He admired Shoujo's strength so much but says that wasn't what made him perfect. Rather, it was the hammer given to him by none other than Junho. That was the moment when the physically strongest one of the chiefs met the strongest weapon, saying that surely they understand now how strong Shoujo is with his special hammer. He is pretty much a bull that cannot be stopped. As we see the swing coming into contact with Maru, sending him flying backward, Shoujo asks how he could possibly kill Do-il with these skills, saying even though that guy was weaker than he is, there's no way he would have fallen so easily. Maru is instantly surprised to see that Shoujo has already closed the gap. Bro has the face of a villain 100%. He swings toward Maru's head, and Maru narrowly dodges the blow, but he manages to leave a slight cut on Shoujo's arm. Shoujo then starts out with another pun, asking him if he knows what you call a cow that paints well. He says it's called Picasso. All of these puns are going to be Korean jokes. I'm not going to read all of them. Yet again, Maru counterattacks, stabbing him in the shoulder. Shoujo gets pissed that he's not laughing and punches him this time. Maru blocks it, slicing him yet again. Maru realizes that Shoujo isn't just physically strong, and this is getting worse the longer it goes, as he is getting faster with each passing second. Shoujo tells him that as a senior, he is trying to lighten up the mood, yet he won't even laugh, asking if he doesn't know how to fit in with society and if he is just going to keep attacking him while ignoring his words. Maru can tell that Shoujo is the real deal and that he is very skilled. Shoujo swings his hammer down once more, saying he'd love to see Maru laughing. Maru dodges to the left, cutting right below Shoujo's shoulder. He then dodges another swing, stabbing him in the thigh, immediately following up with another cut on his shoulder on the front side. He then jumps out of the way from a downward swing that smashes the ground. Maru sees a blind spot on Shoujo's throat and immediately jumps for it with his broken blade, saying this is his chance. But he is surprised to see that Shoujo actually caught it with his teeth. With the knife in his mouth, he goes to ask Maru another pun. Bro's eyes start to go hella crazy as he gets angrier with every passing second due to Maru not laughing. Maru pulls it out and immediately swings for Shoujo's head, but Shoujo dodges, saying even Do-il laughed at that joke and that this is a tough audience. He asks Maru why he is only barely scratching him, saying a mosquito bite will probably hurt more. He then raises his hammer above his head, saying attacks are meant to be done like this. He starts swinging as fast as he can, going crazy, but with each attack, Maru dodges, countering lightly, cutting him, inflicting damage while taking literally zero. Shoujo starts to swing at an upward diagonal this time. Maru barely dodges the swing, and this time it was too fast for him to counterattack, and he realizes that Shoujo has gotten even faster than before, and now even avoiding him is a problem. While he is lost in thought, Shoujo capitalizes on this by giving him a flying knee directly to the face, and since Maru can't dodge it, he just eats it. Shoujo then grabs onto his leg, making another joke about a flying cow as he turns his body, getting ready to throw Maru, and he yeets him directly into the ceiling, causing it to break. Shoujo begins to laugh. Maru's nose begins to bleed, as does his mouth, as he lands back on his feet. Shoujo puts his hand on his chest, pushing him to the ground, saying if he doesn't want to laugh, he's just going to end this, but when he holds his hand up, he notices that his arm is bleeding heavily. Then he looks around, realizing that Maru has only been aiming for his vitals the entire time they've been fighting. He says now he understands why Juno called him the best of the best. Maru curses at him. As Shoujo asks why he's talking so foul to a senior, Maru says he has one question, asking if there are people who laugh at his shitty puns. Shoujo starts to make a face of pure anger and even a little bit of embarrassment. He tightens the grip on his hammer, saying he thought he would go easy on him since he's a newbie, but yet he dares make fun of his jokes. He raises his hammer yet again, getting ready for the final attack. It jumps to Juno hammering a nail into the wall, saying he's really digging this as this place is hella artsy and that his little Maru is so photogenic, it's crazy, and he could even be a celebrity. He then hops off the three musketeers, saying they were having a fun conversation. And that Shoujo would be the perfect match for him among all the chiefs and employees, as there's nobody else who could surpass Shoujo, nor will there ever be. Junsik says as expected, even if the new recruit is extraordinary, Shoujo is still the best. Junho says besides all of this, why are they still addressing Maru informally? He starts to glare at them. They immediately get scared, asking what he's talking about, and they say that he should use honorifics with someone who is a manager. They say that can't be, as he's only 23 years old, asking how he can be a manager at that age. They said earlier they were talking about how Shoujo is the bull that can't be stopped. But a bull, at the end, is still a mere beast. As we see Shoujo's body finally give out, all of the cuts begin to burst open. At the same time, after accumulating so much stress, his hammer drops to the ground, and so does he, falling to his knees helplessly in front of Maru. Junho says no matter what a beast does, there's no way it can defeat a butcher. Shoujo's face looks like it's full of fear as Maru is gazing down at him, as if this was purely calculated. Shoujo realizes now that it was saying he thought he was just slicing blindly, but now in hindsight, he can tell that Maru has only been cutting his vitals, aiming for his nerves so that when he uses force, all of them will explode at the same time. He sighs, saying that he thought he was the one playing him, yet now he can see he was running around on his palm. Maru puts the blade right to his forehead, and Shoujo starts to laugh, asking him if he knows what you call a cow that dies. Maru raises the hammer just as Shoujo is done and then hammers the knife directly through his head. It jumps to Maru entering his welcome party as all of the members are congratulating him for joining them, and they all have gifts to give him. They say that since he was hand-picked by Junho, they knew he would be unique and that they will serve him with all of their hearts. He doesn't even reply and instead throws something directly at all of them. They wonder what it is. We see two things fall to the floor, and they say they can't believe that Maru actually brought them a gift, but then they immediately start to sweat nervously as we see it's none other than the employee ID badges for both Du-il and Shoujo. Maru says he caught two pigs, and they should get ready, as he plans to do the same to them. They all immediately pull out weapons, getting ready to actually fight him. No way, bro is about to fight a whole gang. Maru then locks the door behind him and glares at them, asking if they're going to fight or not, calling them pigs. He's crazy. Junho watches from his chair, saying this is a little different than he imagined, and that Maru has gotten a lot stronger than he expected, as we see him actually fighting them all off. Surely but surely, he's pushing his way forward, slicing each and every one of them in vital points, mostly the throat. He's even using Shoujo's hammer to beat them away when they get close, then immediately follows up with the knife. Junho wonders if Maru is really planning on wiping them all out by himself. Maru's eyes look determined, as he has a single goal, and that's none other than Junho, who is sitting in the back. Even more men start running directly at Maru, and he thrusts his blade up, instantly taking out the first man, continuing his one-man siege of world livestock food, pushing through the gang members, one after another. Junho says this won't do and starts to sit up, saying it looks like he'll actually have to make a move. He grabs something out of his pocket, saying Maru's name, and then immediately starts swinging around what are none other than glow sticks, as he starts cheering Maru on by swinging the glow sticks and chanting his name like a cheerleader. He begins to sit back down, while all the other men start cringing internally, saying they can't wait to die. Junho explains that pigs are known to be passive animals, but at times they will attack humans. That's why, for a butcher, the first step is to learn how to deal with them properly. Maru raises the hammer into the air, swinging it down, as Junho continues, saying that knocking them out in one strike is essential to being a butcher, as he absolutely crushes this dude's skull. Junsik starts to cry and scream, asking how dare he use that hammer, saying it belongs to Shoho. He charges forward with the men, saying they need to chop Maru's head off and offer it up at Shoho's altar. Junho says the second skill is bloodletting, as Maru dodges a swing from Junsik. Junho explains that before you can dissect a pig, you have to drain all the blood. To drain the blood of a pig, you must stab both the carotid artery and jugular vein at the same time, as he stabs Junsik straight in the throat. Junsik grabs onto Maru, allowing his boys to hit him while screaming. But instead, Maru grabs him by the hair and uses him to block the attacks as he gets stabbed multiple times in the back. Piggy calls him a bastard, asking how dare he take Junsik as a hostage, calling him a terrorist. He then charges in, saying he'll save Junsik. But Junsik yells, telling him to keep that knife away from him. Junho then says the third step is skinning. This is the first main step of dissecting. As the word implies, it is peeling the skin straight off of the pig. Maru raises his knife into the air but doesn't actually demonstrate him peeling the skin off. Instead, he's just administering lethal blows. Junho says they'll leave the rest of the steps for next time. As we see multiple men's corpses now on the ground, Maru is a little gassed out, but it looks like he succeeded in wiping out the gang, or at least a good bit of them, as the ones who were left are too afraid to fight him, asking if that's what it means to be at a manager level, saying there's no way to win. Maru slowly walks towards them, as they all feel an instinctual fear, yelling not to get close. Maru then hears Junho right behind him, saying surely he remembers him telling him. Maru swings the hammer directly at Junho's face, and we hear it hit. Junho says there will be a time where even he is confused, as he is, because Junho caught it with his hand, saying he's going to be confused whether the things he's killing are human or pig. He shatters the hammer with pure strength and starts to smile really wide. He picks up Maru's cake, asking what he thinks about the people he just murdered and throws it directly in Maru's face, asking if they look like pigs or humans to him. He says he knew Maru would turn out like this one day, and that he is the same type of butcher he is, saying that this is enough playing around with the pigs and they should go in, as he set up everything nicely for him. Maru doesn't plan to play games, and he asks Junho where exactly he is hiding his sister while wiping the cake off of his face. He points the knife directly at Junho. We then see somebody squatting down over the cake, and we hear Yang saying, "Oh my," asking how someone can be so cruel as she begins to cry. She licks some of the frosting off her finger and asks who did it, immediately jumping up. Maru gets a bit uneasy, as we see she's releasing a ton of killing intent while crying, asking who did this to the cake. Junsik goes to tell her that it was none other than Junho, but Junho kicks Junsik in the head telling him to shut up. Junho instead points behind Yang, so do Piggy and the other dude, and Maru asks if they're pointing at him. Something whizzes right by his face, embedding into the wall behind him. Turns out Yang just shot at him, and she calls him a bastard. She continues to fire, and Maru jumps behind one of the tables, saying if he's against somebody with a gun, he needs to close the distance no matter what. While it's risky, that is his only chance at winning. We see that she had no intentions of staying at a distance, as she is immediately in his face after closing the distance. He can't believe she would come into close quarters willingly, and he palm strikes her gun upwards, saying whatever her intentions are, she's in his range now, as she fires around straight into the ceiling. He says he'll end it with one blow, raising his blade up, aiming for her chest, but she immediately retaliates by kicking him straight in the head. As he's reeling from the blow, she continues hitting him with a diabolical combo, hitting him in the chin and the liver. Maru starts to spit up a little bit of blood, asking what the hell her deal is, saying even in close range, there is not a single opening for him to counterattack with, as she is now holding onto his collar, beating him up. Junho tells Maru to be careful, saying that she is the best that North Korea has ever trained, as she wraps her legs around him while holding onto his arm. She then points the gun directly at his forehead. Now that she has him in a position where he can't move, we get a flashback to some kind of political party, and everybody at the banquet is deceased. It is a very gory scene. Yang is sitting there, munching away regardless of all the corpses around her while wearing her uniform. She looks very happy. We then see Junho approaching her, asking which livestock killed off the pig he was aiming for. He raises his glasses to look at her face and is surprised to see it's not actually a pig, but instead a human. As she glares up at him, she asks who he is, asking if he is maybe a soldier from the Southern Army. He says while she may be a human, she is still a beggar, and he laughs, saying that she should take her time while eating and hands her some Coca-Cola using his axe. Who CGI'd the Coke? She starts chugging the CGI cola. He says she sure does eat well, and looking at how she is still eating after all this mess, she'd probably make a lot of money streaming mukbangs. She burps, asking what a mukbang is, and he says that she probably doesn't know while showing her a girl absolutely going to town on more CGI food, saying that she would get a lot of money for eating like this. Yang is surprised that you can make money while eating, and her eyes start to sparkle with hope. Juno asks what she thinks, saying if she works for him, she can eat even more than this. She starts barking at him, asking if he dares to bribe her with food. She says her revolutionary spirit will never be ruined by such weak ideals. He then tells her that breakfast, lunch, dinner, late night meals, and snacks are all unlimited, and she immediately bends the knee on top of the table. How is the table holding him up though? She says she'll serve him well, and he says from now on, he'll be her master. She says that before she takes him as a master, she needs to clean up around here first. He tells her to bring him some ice cream on her way back. A whole week later, he's looking at the news about a strange explosion, and the government is still trying to confirm it. He asks Yang if she did this, as we see her uniform completely shredded and she is soaked in blood. He says putting all that aside, wasn't one of those ice creams meant to be his? She quickly eats both of them, saying she's not sure what he is talking about. This is how she became the produce entry for the company. Back to the present, as Maru is staring down the barrel of death, he stabs the side of the gun, making her shoot off to the side. He then goes for a follow-up to the head, but she rolls backward, putting the gun in her mouth. Then, while using the momentum, she raises off the floor, kicking him straight in the chin. They then start trying to get the upper hand on one another to no avail. We see someone's phone on the ground as it starts to ring and plays a tune saying, "Daddy, you are the best," and they are all rooting for you. It's none other than Junsik's phone, and he picks it up, asking his daughter what's up. She asks if he's working overtime today, and he says yeah, he's a bit busy right now, and she should eat without him. She then tells him that she already had eel with her mother, and his eyes start bulging. He instantly raises up, asking if she means, if she's serious. His daughter says that they got him some too, and she's going to buy him some other food. She told him to sleep at grandma's house. They all start screaming while Yang is still chasing down Junho, who she sends flying. Piggy and the other guy wave at Junsik, telling him to crawl over here. We finally learn their names, but the nicknames are gonna stay. They're all surprised that each other's alive, and then Junho immediately hops on their backs, saying that Junsik can go home early today. Junsik says that he'll work overtime and that he really wants it. We see Junho intensely watching the fight, saying there's a noticeable difference in their abilities and that it's an interesting matchup. Piggy asks him who he thinks is gonna win, saying of course it'll be Yang. Junho says that Yang does fight well and her skills are top level, just like the amount of food she eats. Piggy says as expected, Yang is the best, and they all start cheering her on, saying that she needs to beat the manager. Junho starts to laugh, asking if they know this, saying that although Yang is someone who was trained to perfection, Maru was already a human. Remember, he sees everybody as pigs. While he taught him bits and pieces since he seemed interesting, only someone with at least 1 year of experience can do what he just demonstrated, which is effortlessly butchering a pig while it was still in the air. Instead, Maru did it hella fast, asking if he did it right. Junho is surprised by this, saying he can't believe it took only a month for him to learn a skill that most people take at least a year. So he tried making him do something even more difficult as we see him holding a chain while a bull is going crazy. He explains that it's something only even a chief-level employee would take an hour to accomplish. He breaks pipe holding the chain, telling Maru to try butchering this as the bull charges directly at him. Junho is surprised, as yet again Maru shatters his expectations, saying that it didn't even take him 5 minutes, and that's when he became hella certain that he found the perfect butcher, that he's been looking for this the entire time. Maru swings his blade at Yang's hand, knocking the gun out of it. Junho then asks Junsik if he knows what a butcher is. Junsik kindly explains that based on the words that form it in Korean, it means a man with nothing. Junho slaps his back, congratulating him, saying he's expecting nothing less from him. Low-key killing the guy. We then see Yang pulling a knife from her back as she gets ready to fight him in hand-to-hand combat with it. As she starts swinging it, Maru is blocking it, then immediately switches hands. Junho explains to have nothing means that you can be filled with absolutely anything, as Maru just copied her skill 1-to-1 immediately after seeing it. Yang realizes this and begins to sweat, saying that there's no way he just did that. Maru swaps his grip once more as he's going in for another barrage. Junho says that of course, it wouldn't be easy for Maru to defeat Yang. As we see them trading blow for blow, he says they can't ignore the fact that Maru is improving with each and every passing minute as their knives collide, creating sparks. They both start to push against one another's blades, causing them both to backpedal. As soon as they regain their footing, Junho says that in the end, this fight is about whether she can defeat him before he catches up to her current skills. Because if she doesn't, he will endure all of this since her past is right here. And surely they're both curious about the outcome too, as they both start to go for another attack. Junho then stands up, saying he's sure they'd love to see it, but he won't let them, as he starts to laugh. They start to beg him to let them finish, and he gets down into a sprinting position. Immediately dashing forward, poor guys, slamming his axe in between them, stopping them from hitting one another, and he says that he'll show them something even more interesting. He then puts his axe back on his shoulder and calls out to Maru, getting right into his face while laughing, saying that it's his turn to come at him. Yang grits her teeth, asking if he's kidding her right now, saying that he puts that little scoundrel on such a high pedestal. She needs to cut off his head. He pulls out his card, saying there's a 3 Michelin star buffet that only VIPs can attend that's gonna be over in an hour. He throws the card, telling her to go run and see how much meat she can eat, like a dog chasing after a stick. She immediately chases after it, saying she has no problems. She asks if he's really gonna kill him over the cake, saying that she'll consider this payback, and she will leave him to Junho. Junho then turns back to Maru, asking if he waited long. Maru immediately leaps in for an attack, asking him where the hell his sister is. Junho effortlessly blocks it, asking if he is serious. Maru is surprised as he gets sent flying backward, and Junho wonders if that's all he is curious about. Maru says that strength is hella different from anything he's faced until now. He then sees the axe directly above him as it comes down, slicing him in half, at least that's what it felt like, saying that he didn't even touch him, but he just felt himself get cut in half. He wonders just how strong Junho is now, as this makes it seem like the gap is unsurmountable. We get a flashback to Maru in his military uniform, saying one day, when he was 21, he became the head of his family as his father died. He says in order to make a living for his family, he found out about this place, and while the work was really hard, to be honest, it wasn't bad as he had a lot of memorable moments spent with Junho because there was someone who loved him as if he were his own son. At least that's what he wanted to believe until he saw his mother laying there. He starts to cry tears of rage, asking Junho why. He swings down at his head, asking him why he would do this to him, telling him to tell him. Junho blocks it with his axe, saying that he already told him. Whether he's butchering a person or a pig, he needs to keep his movements sharp. He hits him with the wooden part of the axe straight on the head, saying as his movements get bigger, the gap grows bigger too. Maru thinks he sees a gap and immediately starts to go for it. Junho says, of course, he needs to distinguish between real and fake gaps, and he flicks Maru's forehead, leaving a dent. Maru says he can't win against Junho by taking advantage of the gaps, but surely there's something else he can do, wondering if he needs to treat him the same way he cut down that cow dude, or maybe like he did when he killed 4 eyes in one simple move. But he says even if he did something like that, he'll just get hurt, and that won't be possible here, and he has to come up with a different strategy. While he's lost in thought, Junho is immediately in his face, saying it looks like he seems to be thinking a lot about something, jump scaring him. Maru backpedals as Junho asks if he thought he'd have the time to think during a fight. He says that he told him that he'll die if he lets his guard down, and we see Maru making a pained face as he just got hit in the stomach by the axe's handle. Junho asks why he dodged in a straight line, telling him that he needs to keep in mind that it doesn't matter if he dodges or attacks, but if he makes it obvious, it'll always end up like this. Maru grabs onto the handle, wondering how to get rid of the axe. Junho effortlessly raises him up, asking if he's sure he wants to fight him right now, saying he wouldn't be able to escape even if he caught him with his toes. He asks Maru what he's learned so far, saying he's been teaching him this entire time. Maru lands on his back but immediately rolls, regaining his footing, and Junho tells him to try again. Maru charges in, Junho starts to toy around with him. The 3 musketeers watch, they say as expected of Junho, he could end it quickly, but he's messing around with him. Calling him a monster, Piggy says as expected of the world's strongest. They start agreeing that Junho really is a monster, and Piggy says if he has a son in the future, he'll name him after him. But Junsik says that's not what he means, and that he's talking about Maru, as Maru is right on Junho's heels, which makes him a monster. Junho instructs him to cut a bit lower, and Maru starts to get pissed. Junsik explains they're watching the birth of a monster live, as Maru starts to swing all over, trying to bait fakes. Junho blocks every attack, saying he should attack properly if he wants to fight seriously. While he can tell Maru's getting better as they fight, surely he can feel that he's missing something. There is a big weight difference between them right now, and in a head-on fight like this, since he's way bigger, he has an advantage being a heavyweight. Maru can't even move from the pressure of the axe, and Junho says that he needs to put in more power. He can't believe that he's even kneeling, asking if he's been eating enough. He wonders if he truly thinks that this will be enough to kill him, saying it feels half-assed. He then swings down, breaking the knife in half, and asks Maru if he thinks that humans are meant to roll around on the floor, telling him to get up. While Maru dodges the attack, he says now that his knife is broken, what will he do now? Maru looks around to find a new weapon, and Junho asks if he wants to fight with his fist since it's come to this. Maru immediately throws the broken knife at him, which Junho flicks away. Maru grabs a new one. Junho slams the back of the axe into a table and then yeets it at Maru, asking if he thought that he'd just watch him do it. As it flies directly at him, Maru dodges directly underneath, charging forward, telling him to die. Junho says damn as he immediately dodges by going to his toes, tying Maru's shoe, saying that he can't believe that he would let his shoe go untied. He grabs him by the ankle and tosses him up into the air, saying he needs to take care of stuff like this, then smacks him with the side of the axe, asking just how he's going to live without him, playing human baseball, causing him to get sent flying into a wall. Maru then slams into the floor, even hitting his head. Junho says that they should stop here for today, and he said that he wanted to know why he did those things. He asks if he knows how much those drug factories he burned down in Japan cost, saying that it was over 300 billion won. Now all that money is gone, and he can bet that the Yakuza were unhappy, and they came to him hella pissed, asking Maru if he thinks he could really take them all on. In the end, he had to cover for him, and he should have found a way to make those pig-brained bastards understand that his mother has become a drug addict, which is proof of his punishment. The chaos that he caused here is proof of his ability to repay that money. He then lifts his glasses up and starts to give him a businessman pitch of working together while extending his hand, saying surely he understands that 300 billion is a lot of money. If he works with him, he can earn even more than that, and he's taking care of everything, so all he has to do is join him. He turns his back to him, saying that they'll start working once he's fully recovered. Maru again only asks why. Junho stops walking, and Maru says if that's the case, he could have just told him, asking why he had to escalate it to this point. Junho asks if it's not obvious, saying it's way more interesting this way, and he starts to laugh. Maru sits there, laying on the floor, and then chuckles a bit, immediately going into uncontrollable laughter while holding his face. Junho asks him if he thought it was fun too, looking really happy, and Maru says it is funny while sitting back up, saying that it's so ridiculous. He saw him as his teacher, his father, and his benefactor, yet he put his hands on his family just to make it interesting. He can't believe he thought of him as a person. He then calls out to him, immediately for him to call him a pig, as that's what he's starting to see him as. He starts to give off some crazy killing intent, saying that he is going to slaughter him right now. Junho starts to get pissed while grabbing onto his shirt, asking if he just called him a pig, and he rips it off, telling him to try to slaughter him if he wants to. If you've watched till the end, comment, fruit, to let me know. Subscribe for more videos like this, leave a like or a comment to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.